Mitchell, a three is good. Plus the foul. A chance for four. Only three to shoot. Gonna have to make something happen. Clark through the lane, reverses it in. Post feed. Boston. Oh, beats the clock. Wow. Indiana will reset. Clark fire away. You bet.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pacers Fever Show, your home for all things Indiana Fever. It's Friday, the day that you're listening to this, and we are riding high on this Thursday evening. After a win against Atlanta Dream in Atlanta, a huge road win for the Indiana Fever, and after a tough loss to the Dream on Tuesday, the Fever come out in this matchup with redemption on their mind, and boy, did they deliver in a big way. Natasha Howard was a force on both ends of the court, and Kelsey Mitchell lit it up from deep, especially late, to help push Indiana past Atlanta in front of their home crowd. A sellout. Today, we're going to be breaking it all down from the adjustments that made the difference to the players who stepped up that mattered the most. Plus, we're going to have a preview for the can't miss matchup this Saturday. The reigning WNBA champions, the New York Liberty, head to town, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and it's an early test for this young Fever squad. So buckle up, Fever fans. We've got a great show ahead. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time joining, thanks for tuning in. It's a lot of fun covering this Fever team, but we also cover the Indiana Pacers, and that's been a whole lot of fun, which is why the podcast is titled The Pacers Fever Show. We are on YouTube if you're interested in the video version. We are also anywhere that you can get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, whatever platform that you're using to listen to the audio versions. But yeah, if you want to see us, we're over on YouTube as well, where I have the rundown of what the episode's going to look like, talking about the Indiana Fever, recapping games, breaking news, whatever might happen with the Fever. But we're also, like I said, covering the Indiana Pacers and their run to the Eastern Conference Finals. They win game one against the New York Knicks. They play tomorrow night, Friday, May 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm looking forward to that game. But what an exciting weekend that we have ahead if you are an Indianapolis sports fan, because there is a lot going on. And starting Friday night, like I said, Pacers, Knicks, 8 p.m. Eastern time on TNT. That'll be game two. Pacers looking to go ahead 2-0 in that series. What a wild finish that they had in game one. One of those more improbable comebacks that they've been doing pretty much all season this year, where they've had like 0.00023 chance of winning the basketball game, and they go on to win it. It's been amazing watching that. Caitlin Clark actually tweeted about it as it was happening, saying that the Pacers are the best comeback team that she has ever seen in her lifetime. But Caitlin, you're special in and of yourself as well, a very clutch player, and hit some pretty big shots, even though she struggled tremendously from the field tonight. But like I said, Friday night, Pacers Knicks. Saturday, we're going to be previewing this at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. We preview the next game, usually on the recap episodes of the last game. That way it's more of an hour long, so you have a lot of content to listen to on your commute or wherever you're listening to this podcast. But yeah, Saturday afternoon, Fever Liberty, 1 p.m. Eastern time on CBS. A huge game, a big test for the Fever, battle-tested and WNBA champions from last season, the New York Liberty. So two New York teams that we get to see as Indianapolis sports fans. And then on Sunday, you've got the Indianapolis 500, which is that afternoon. And then before you go to bed, some Pacers and Knicks once again, this time at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They'll be in Indy as well. So a huge weekend if you're a sports fan. I imagine that your sports journey has started for the weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. You're probably off work this Friday as you're listening to this, or you're just getting ready to leave work, heading home for a real long weekend, nice weekend. And then Monday, you'll have that day. Let's go enjoy, hopefully, a very successful weekend for the Pacers and the Fever. But yes, we are a podcast that covers both. And this episode is all about the Fever. Game 3 against the Atlanta Dream. The Indiana Fever moved to 2-1 on the season. The Fever had come into this game 1-1 after beating the Chicago Sky in game 1, losing to these Atlanta Dream this Atlanta Dream team on Tuesday night, and that was a 91-90 loss. And then the Fever head to Atlanta, and they split in this series. They go 1-1 as they beat the Dream on their home floor, 81-76. A really good win for the Fever and a lot of growth opportunities coming out of game two. And I thought they did a really nice job of addressing some of the issues that they had heading into tonight's game. And that was one of the main reasons why they won, was a huge adjustment that they made in the paint, because I felt like they did a really nice job against Brianna Jones and Brittany Griner. But we head to State Farm Arena tonight, where the Fever again got a great game from Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard, as she was instrumental in defending some of the bigs down low between Griner and Jones, but also provided a huge spark in the third and fourth quarter, where she took it upon herself, and Kelsey Mitchell as well, hitting some really big shots and providing big points as the Fever look to stay on top of a Dream team that I think is getting a lot better. They weren't great offensively last season. I think one of the worst teams offensively. A pretty good defensive team, though. And they bring in Jones and Griner to help out with the offensive push that they were going to need to be a better team this season and make a name for themselves in this league. And I think they've done just that. Griner and Jones had an excellent game in that game two against the Fever. It was a game that you could feel was a challenge for this Fever team, this young Fever team, because of the size, the length, the intensity, and the physicality that Griner and Jones can both provide at times. The Fever really struggled to defend them. Jones had 19 in game two, Griner 21. They combined for 40 points. Ryan Howard had 20 points as well in game two, and Alicia Gray was also added her 2 cents with 16 points. And between the four of them, they just dominated the Fever in game two. It was a hard task for them to try to defend, and the Fever made some adjustments in that game where they went more of a full court pressure into a zone, and that zone gave Atlanta a lot of problems, and a little bit tonight as well, where the Fever were able to implement that zone once again, and it caused some problems, as it would down in the post. There was a lot of double teams thrown at Griner and Jones when they would get into the paint, and there were a lot of weak side help coming over to help and throw 2 or 3 bodies at them at a time as they're trying to get to the rim. And that was a big key going out of game two that we talked about. We were talking about the things that they struggled with early on this season. And one thing that we continue to harp on, and I would say at times it even showed in game three, and Stephanie White has said it in most of her press conferences. Caitlin Clark's addressed it. DeWanna Bonner, Kelsey Mitchell too, where they just weren't matching the physicality. They weren't playing. They weren't sticking to the game plans. There was a lot of straying from said game plan. Defensively, they just weren't together as a unit. Communication lacking at times, and we even see that in game three as well, where that'll be some adjustments that they'll just continue to have to make. And this is a young team where, if you've played the game before, you know that the younger the team and the more inexperienced the team is, physicality is not just something that is gifted to you as a younger team or a younger player. The mentality it takes to compete in this league for 44 games now that they play is very difficult to go, every other night or 2 or 3 nights in between, having to play and travel, charter planes. You're tired. You're beat up by the time you get to the end of the year. And, as a young player, it's really difficult to adjust to that. And that's where you see a lot of young players struggle in their first couple of seasons. Is 1, strength; 2, that physicality; 3, that mental and also the IQ side of things. The game's just faster, right? The players are bigger. There is less of a gap between you and the other team's worst player. So there's a lot of things that go into struggles that teams have. But when you have veterans like Kelsey Mitchell, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, even I would say, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, who are older than Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, that, the 2 players that this Fever team rely heavily upon, it's good to have, and that's why the Fever have added in these veteran players because they've been there, done that. They know what it takes to win at a high level. But Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark are clearly still trying to figure it out. And the lapses that they have mentally, physically, whatever it might be, those are still having impacts on the game and a lot of times negative impacts on the game just because you can tell that they're just not up to speed yet. I mean, there's still some things that they have to do to grow. And I think that they are growing each game and they're very good players. They are two of the top players in this league as far as young players are concerned. Caitlin Clark will make an argument where she is one of the best players in the league. But that being said, she still has a lot to learn. She still has a lot of places to grow. And that is something Stephanie White's going to deal with. That's something that the veteran players are going to help them with. And it's nights like tonight where Caitlin wasn't shooting as well, Leah Boston and Caitlin in foul trouble, where they just didn't feel like they really had much of an impact on this game as much as they would have liked to at least. And that's when you have to dig deep and find out just exactly what can you do to help your team win. And it might not be scoring points. And we'll get into something that happened tonight that hasn't happened in a very long time with Caitlin Clark. But you've got to find ways to help your team win, no matter how poorly you are shooting from the field or how much you've been taken out of the offense. And I don't think Caitlin Clark, for a very long time, has been removed from the offense quite like tonight when Ryan Howard really just hounded her for the 32 minutes that she played. So let's get into that. Caitlin Clark, for the very first time and since her sophomore year in Iowa, she goes 3-pointerless. She does not hit a 3-pointer. She had gone 140 games dating back to that sophomore year in Iowa, where she had at least one 3-pointer. Well, Ryan Howard aggressively defends Caitlin Clark all night, face guarding her up and down the floor, full court pressure the whole time, deny, not letting her get the ball back, forcing a secondary ball handler to take the offense and try to wrangle that offense. And there were struggles at times. I mean, you had Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull at times, Kelsey Mitchell trying to alleviate the need for Caitlin to bring the ball up the floor and initiate the offense. Well, that's something that those three players can do, but that is not their strength. That, they're not the floor generals that Caitlin Clark is. Sydney Colson played 5 minutes and did somewhat struggle in this game too. Breonna Turner didn't even play in this game. I do feel like there are times where, I mean, even Natasha Howard, I think, was bringing the ball up the floor at points. There are times where this Fever team struggles when Caitlin Clark is removed from being effective in a game because so much of the offense goes through what she's able to do at the point position and to get that initiated offense going. And it just, you can tell there's like this stagnant standing around trying to beat people off the dribble. The screens aren't necessarily as crisp just because Caitlin's really good at coming off the pick and roll and creating outside of that, getting to the paint. She's very effective in doing that. She's also a really good passer, and there's not somebody on this team that is as good as she is at the point. So it is a regression when she's taken out of that position, and that can be whether the defender is picking her up 90 some feet or if she's in foul trouble like she was in some of this game. Now, she still played 32 minutes of 40 with eventually with 5 fouls. She gets 5 fouls and almost fouls out. Aaliyah Boston, same thing. Both of them in foul trouble at points throughout the first and second half where they had to be removed from the lineup. But you can just tell when those two are not on the floor that onus goes to Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, and Aaliyah Boston. And then tonight, I mean, Natasha Howard had an insane game. She was sensational. Hit really big shots. We looked very comfortable in this offense. So I'm interested to see how that looks going forward because I feel like she just put her stamp on tonight's game. And without her, this team has a hard time winning tonight because there were times when that offense struggled where she picked up the slack. She had 26 points tonight, 12 of 17 shooting. I mean, she looked like a woman on a mission tonight. She's averaging 15.7 points per game this season, and in her career, she's only averaged 11.5. So she's up from her career average. She looks very good. Um, she's creating problems defensively for some of their bigs. I felt like, had times tonight where she was having to defend Brittany Griner and caused her some issues. And the combination of her, Boston, Bonner, um, Sophie Cunningham, when they threw those bodies at the bigs and Brianna Jones and Brittany Griner, I felt like they really struggled. And those veteran players that the Fever were throwing at them were answering that bell. That they were not great in game two. I felt like Natasha Howard, Aaliyah Boston, Bonner got eaten alive by the bigs for the Atlanta Dream. Dantas as well. I just feel like tonight there was this attitude, this hunger, there's this drive to want to be better. And that's what you get in having veteran players like Natasha Howard, like a Dewana Bonner as well, Sophie Cunningham, who's been there, done that. I just feel like you saw the difference tonight of having veteran players that were like, we're not allowing that to happen to us again. So a really good performance from the Fever veterans tonight. I mean, Dewana Bonner still struggled a bit, but rebounded the ball well. She was 0 for 2 from the field. She's not really a person that I don't know if the offense really knows how to get her involved as much right now. So that's been part of her struggles, but she's also not playing as many minutes. While she does start games, she's oftentimes subbed out pretty quickly. She played 19 minutes last night, which was third lowest on the team. Dantas and Sydney Colson played less. Dantas at 17 and then Colson at 5. But Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull played more off the bench. Sophie had 20 minutes and Lexi 27. I think Sophie would have played a little bit more, but they're kind of easing her back in from that ankle injury that she had from the preseason against the Dream. So we'll see what those minutes start to look like and if anything shifts around in the lineups. Just looking at tonight's game, though, I mean, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi coming in off the bench to provide a break for Aaliyah Boston and Bonner, although Boston's wasn't much of a break. It was more of because she got into foul trouble. But even spelling people like Kelsey Mitchell, they were instrumental in tonight's win. And that bench played extremely well compared to what they had done in the first two games. Looked like completely different team that came out there tonight in this Fever team. And this is why I think people are really excited because Atlanta, probably top 6 team, probably top 6, top 7, like definitely top 7. But you could make an argument for them being the number 5 or number 4 team and pretty even with the Fever. Maybe Seattle as well, around that mark. The Mystics are playing well too. So these are teams that are in that second tier that I believe have a good shot if they got into the playoffs to challenge the top 3 teams. You know, those teams like the Aces, like the Liberty, the Mercury are playing really well right now. The Lynx playing really well. So, you know, there's different tiers in this league. I don't think the Fever and Dream are in that top tier with those other 3, with the Lynx, Aces, and Liberty. But I do believe they're on the doorstep and could challenge you in a playoff series. So tonight was a big test going on the road against a Dream team that had beaten you on your home floor and pretty much imposed their will on you for a majority of that game and beat you by 1. Score 91 points. You got to be better defensively in this league. And the Fever were just that in the game tonight. And part of that was the return of Sophie Cunningham. There's just an intensity and a level of aggravation that comes with having to play Sophie. I mean, she's in everything. She's always involved in what is going on, and she'll let you hear about it too. So she's just a physical force that I think teams really are going to struggle with, and it's something that the Fever have been lacking was that intensity and that demeanor, and she's got all of that. I mean, she is the person that you wanted to come into this team, whether it be a bench option or she starts to step into a more of a starting role or getting starter like minutes in this rotation that she's in. A couple things that they needed to improve on from last game. We talked about the physicality already. And to that point, points in the paint, the Dream are a very physical, beat you up down low kind of team because of the two additions that they've gotten. But only 20-point paints tonight for the Dream compared to the 46 by the Fever. So the Fever absolutely dominated points in the paint. Second chance points. So this is that possession battle too that we talked about being an improvement from last game. Second chance points. Atlanta had 2. Fever 15 second chance points. You're not going to win games with a 13-point margin difference. Is what I meant. The 13-point difference. You're not going to win the game or many games like that if that's what's happening. Second chance points. Fast break points pretty even. 9 for the Fever, 11 for Atlanta. The biggest lead for each team, and this is how back and forth it was, but also I think just how it tells you just how much these teams are similar and pretty even on the playing field. 8 points, or sorry, 8 points was the biggest lead for the Fever. 9 points for the Dream. Turnovers, 13 for Indiana, 14 for Atlanta. Points off turnovers, another key possession category when I'm talking about winning that possession battle. Points off turnovers, 11 points for the Fever off of turnovers, only 6 for Atlanta. So while Indiana was turning it over at the same kind of rate that Atlanta was, they weren't converting on points off of turnovers, whereas Indiana was. They had that 5-point advantage. And when you win a game by 5 points, like that's pretty important that the Fever got that advantage off the turnovers that the Dream had. Rebounding, 41 for Indiana, 37 for Atlanta, 21 assists for Indiana, 14 for Atlanta. A lot of ISO ball and really creating their own shots. I mean, Ryan Howard creates a lot of her own shots. Field goal percentage, this is where it really you start to see the difference. Indiana shot 44.6% from the field, which is good. They shot 30% from 3. Atlanta only shot 35% from the field. So they weren't great from the field. They're actually almost pretty close. And that's weird. 34% from 3. I mean, that's 1 percentage point off from what they shot in the field. Here's the one thing I will say. Well, actually, we'll leave that. But remind me, Logan, to talk about free throw percentages, because that is somewhere where the Fever need to get better. Like, they need to be a lot better in that category because they've really struggled this season from the free throw line, which is not good. You can't leave points on the board, and they left a lot of points on the board on Tuesday, and that was a big difference as to why they lost that ball game on Tuesday. But going through the box score, DeWanna Bonner, 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, and 1 point. Natasha Howard in 29 minutes was 12 of 17, 1 for 2 from 3, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. She had 7 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, was a +5, and scored 26 points. DeWanna Bonner was a -12 in the minutes that she played. Aaliyah Boston in just 23 minutes because of foul trouble. She shot 2 of 7 from the field. She had 7 rebounds, which is really good for only playing 23 minutes. She had 3 assists, no turnovers, did have the 4 fouls at the end of the game, and had 4 points. Kelsey Mitchell, 20 minutes, 7 of 19, 1 for 6 from 3. She didn't shoot that well from 3, but she did hit a really big 3 down the stretch that put the Fever back on top. And after that, I don't think they trailed again after she hit that 3. So that was really important. 2 for 4 from the free throw line. She missed a really important free throw at the end, though. I will say that, because I think she could have made it I want to say it was either she could have made it a 3-point game or a 4-point game. I think it was a 3-point game. No, it was a 4-point game. She could have made it a 4-point game, ended up missing it, and it gave at least the Dream a chance to tie it up had they hit a 3, but they didn't. Rebounds, 3. Assist, 1. She had 1 block. She had 3 turnovers and 17 points. She was a 0 in the plus-minus category. Then you had Caitlin Clark, who was 4 of 11, 0 for 5 from the three-point line, 3 of 5 from the free throw stripe, which isn't great for her compared to her 90% that she shot last year. She had 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 steal. She had 4 turnovers. She was a +5 and had 11 points. Dantas was good as far as defensive-wise. Offensively, not great. 1 of 5 from the field, 1 of 3 from three-point line. She did have 6 rebounds, which was really big. And she was a body that they were throwing at Brianna Jones and Griner at times. And I thought she handled them pretty well. She had 1 assist, 1 block, and was a +6 with 3 points. Sophie Cunningham, 20 minutes, 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line, 1 and 2 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 2 turnovers, was a +10 and had 9 points. And then Lexi Hull, who I thought was, besides Natasha, I'd say that Lexi Hull was the second best player tonight. Like Kelsey Mitchell had 17, hit a big 3, but she didn't shoot tremendously well from the field. I felt like Lexi Hull was the difference maker coming off the bench, adding that spark. It wasn't really until she gets into the second quarter, I think it was, where she really sparked this team when Caitlin Clark got into some foul trouble, and Leah Boston did too. Like Lexi stepped up. Her and Sophie, they were combined +24 in the plus-minus category. She was 4 of 7 from the field. She was 2 of 2 from 3. She had 4 assists, 2 steals, had 5 fouls, but she was very physical. She she is somebody that you provide energy off the bench, and it changes the complexion of games sometimes because she's just very good at what she does and her craft. She what do they say? Star in your role, and she often stars in her role. And I thought she played extremely well. Was a big difference maker in Game 3, and she leads the league in plus-minus, which is a lot of fun because that's what you need from a bench player. I mean, you want to see them perform at a high level. She provides scoring off the bench, and when you get that bench scoring 22 compared to what you've been getting, that's a lot better. So that bench, like I said, 22 points on 44.4% from the field, 55.6 from three-point land, 12 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, a big reason why the Fever win that game. And adding Sophie Cunningham back into the mix is great because the bench scoring heading into this game was 10th in the league. They averaged 13 points per game. They were shooting 37% from the field, 14.3 from the three-point line, and then 55.6 from the free throw line. So they were really bad. And now with that performance and performances like that going forward, you're going to have one of the better benches in the league. And it's all about depth. And we'll talk about depth, especially when we get to this team that we're playing coming up this weekend in the New York Liberty, who have a very deep team, even with some injuries that they've had. The Liberty team is, and the Lynx team, because they have depth, they're a harder team to beat. I mean, when you've got good bench players, good rotational players to throw in there when your starters aren't on or they're not performing as well, and you need that spark, you need that energy, and you're not getting it from your starters, that's when you need a good bench. And the Fever really lacked in that last season. They lacked in the ability to get physical. And with the additions that they've made, they've now added intensity and physicality, but also some really good bench scoring too. So a really good offseason for the Fever. I still feel like they're missing something else, right? I think a guard maybe off the bench that can be more of a secondary ball handler. I mean, unless Sydney Colson's really going to step in that role. But again, she played 5 minutes, was very limited in what she was able to do. And that was a reason why the Fever really struggled some tonight. And so we'll see what happens, what changes are made from the Stephanie White side. But looking at the opponents who gave the Fever some trouble still, And this is probably not a surprise to any, but Ryan Howard was a problem, as she usually can be. 24 points. She had 5 rebounds. She was hounding Caitlin Clark. She only turned the ball over 3 times, but she was really good tonight. She shot 47%. She was 42% from 3. She looked great. I mean, top forward in this league. Brianna Jones did not really crush the Fever as much. She did have 15 points and was second in scoring, but she struggled from the field tonight. She was 4 of 13, which was good for 30%. She did hit 2 big threes, though, and shot 50%. She was good at the line, 5 of 7. And then her rebounding is always good. She had 11. Griner had 7. That's good. She's not in double figures in the rebounding category, and she only had 5 points tonight. So they caused her a lot of problems. Alicia Gray was pretty good. She had some timely threes, or not timely threes, some timely baskets. She didn't hit a 3. That's what I meant to say. And then Pow Pow was really good tonight, I thought. She hit some big threes. 3 of 6. It was only her only 3 shots that she shot, or sorry, that she made were 3-pointers. So yeah, Pow Pow looked excellent. And again, this is a good team. This is a really good team in the Dream. I feel like they're also missing some pieces, but for the most part, I think they're going to be neck and neck with the Fever all season, because I feel like they're built very similarly, depth wise, physicality. Um, I think they're going to be able to challenge some of the bigger teams in this league. So we will see them later on, I'd imagine. And down the road, I feel like the Fever really can capitalize on the games that they play against them, because it'll be July 11th when we play them again. Sorry, June 10th is when we play the game. I didn't see that game. So they play them again June 10th and then July 11th. Because I feel like you're going to want the advantage there for the tiebreaker reasons, but also they're a good challenge for this Fever team. And the Fever have a pretty decent schedule coming up. So, and they're in that part of that schedule. I mean, you go from New York at Cambridge, and then you go to the Mystics, who are playing well, Connecticut at home, Washington again, but that time at home. Then you play the Sky in Chicago, and then at Atlanta, and then against New York. So that's pretty much the same kind of deal they have. They just got more games in between, because there's another stretch coming up where they go to Atlanta, come back, and play New York. And that's June 10th and June 14th. So a pretty tough schedule coming up. A good test for this Fever team. So let's look at I actually want to look at the standings first, because the Dream are still missing Jordan Canada, by the way, before we look at the standings, that I hadn't mentioned. And Canada averages 10.6 points per game, 5.8 assists per game, 3.5 usually got. She averaged 5.8 assists last year, 3.5 rebounds, 1.6 steals in 20 games, 18 starts in her first season with Atlanta. And they'll be looking forward to getting her back. So overall, she'd been a all defensive type player. She's a 2-time WNBA champion. Her career average is 9 points, 4.9 assists. So they get even deeper. And like I said, I think this is a team that's going to be right there with the Fever at the end of the year. Now we can look at standings. So right now in the first spot, Minnesota Lynx, 3-0. They look really good. I mean, they look dominant. It's going to be really hard to not pick a Minnesota Lynx New York Liberty rematch for the WNBA championship. Fisa Collier's got averaging 28.3 points per game. Oh my. She's good, huh? Like early choice for MVP ? The New York Liberty, good addition to Natasha Cloud. They're 2-0, and they visit the Fever Saturday, and they're in the second spot. In this third spot, the Phoenix Mercury. The Phoenix Mercury. They're playing well. They're playing well. They're getting some really good performances from Thomas and Sabali. And they're in the third spot at 2-0. Fever in fourth at 2-1. And then the Mystics in the fifth spot at 2-1. The Golden State Valkyries get their first win in franchise history. It's the expansion team. They're in the sixth spot at 1-1. The Vegas Aces, 1-1. Their one loss came to the Liberty. The Seattle Storm are in eighth place at 1-1. The Sparks, 1-2. The Dream, 1-2. So 9-10. And the 11th spot, you got the Connecticut Sun. The 12th spot, Chicago Sky. And the 13th spot, the Dallas Wings. Connecticut, Chicago, and Dallas just don't look like they're going to be very competitive all this year. So really, I mean, you got to worry about two teams that could be, I mean, I'd imagine, like, if I had to guess, like the Valkyries would be down there. And then you've got between the Mystics and maybe the Los Angeles Sparks. I mean, this is going to be a battle for 8 spots in the playoffs. I mean, these are 10 teams that I think could make a case as to why they would be a playoff team. But that's how the standings sit so far. So the number 2 going against the number 4 on Saturday in the standings. And the Fever could make a really good statement here early if they are competitive with the Liberty. But the Liberty are a darn good team. And let's talk about it. So the New York Liberty come into this game 2-0. They've beat the Las Vegas Aces 92-78. And that was at home. Breanna Stewart, 25 points to lead the New York Liberty in that first game. And then they beat the Sky tonight, May 22nd, 99-74. So let Fever beat them by more. So we're obviously the better team. No, I'm kidding. Natasha Cloud had 18 points. She led the team in scoring. They play the Fever tonight, and then they will go and play Golden State twice. So Golden State will be the New York Liberty on the road. So Golden State will stay here in, I think, New Jersey, right? Golden State will play them the 27th and 29th. And then they head over to D.C. to play the Mystics. And then they're back home against Connecticut Sun. So they've got a pretty good schedule. I mean, the Valkyries, there's a lot right, going on with a new expansion team. You're trying to figure out what exactly they are. So I don't know. We'll see. That's a good test to have to come over and the East Coast and play a really good New York Liberty team who could be back-to-back WNBA champions, but the Lynx will have something to say about that, I imagine, as well as the Aces and maybe the Fever. Heck, maybe even the Dream. I don't know. But that's the schedule for the Liberty. The Liberty against the Sky, 12 points from Breanna Stewart. Gosh, this is the D team. Sorry, I'm just reading this team. But Leonie Phoebish, 7 points. Jonquel Jones, 11. Natasha Cloud, 18. Sabrina had 16. Ionescu. Gosh. Kennedy Burke, 17 points off the bench. Rebecca Gardner, 7. Yeah, it's a deep team. I mean, this is a team that I think the Fever will hopefully see down the road and could be a second round matchup, I guess, if things go right for the Fever, second or third round. So third round would be really good. But yeah, this team's stacked in the Liberty. I mean, you're looking at a team that 1 through 5 average over double figures per game. I mean, that's with Kennedy Burke in the mix. So, yeah, it'll be a tall task for the Fever to take down the Liberty. There again, they're 2-0. They come into this game after stomping the sky. They'll feel pretty confident about what they're doing. Looking at how they've performed in 2 games, they lead the league in points per game at 95.5. They lead the league in field goal percentage at 51.5%. They also lead the league in three-pointers made at 11.5. They lead the league in 30-point percentage at 41.8. Lead the league in free throw shooting percentage at 89.5%. One advantage the Fever should have is on the boards. The Fever are 39.7 points or rebounds per game. That's just second behind the Vegas A's. And then the Liberty are all the way down in the sixth spot at 35.5. So that could be a slight advantage. Fever. Another thing that is very noticeable, the Fever are just third in the league with the fewest turnovers, 12.7. The Aces lead the league at 11.5 per game. Liberty right after the Fever at 13 per game. But I feel like that's a really good number, especially when you've got a rookie point guard. And then Aaliyah Boston, who actually is a forward that dominates the ball quite a bit. Steals per game. The Liberty are really good defensively when it comes to getting turnovers off the other team. 9.5 steals per game so far. They also lead the league in blocks per game at 8. So this is a good team, well-rounded team, top team in this league, defending champions. Could see them winning the championship again. So the Fever are going to be tested here. Looking at their lineups that have been most successful in 2 games played at 13.4 minutes per game, 31.5 points in that 13-minute stretch in both games. They shoot 57.5% from the field, 50% from 3. They're an 83.3% free throw shooting team, 9.5 rotation. And that is the rotation of Natasha Cloud, Brianna Stewart, Jones, Ionescu, and Bebish. Like, that's a good lineup. Jonquel Jones, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina, Natasha, and Phoebish. And that's a lineup that the Fever will see quite often. So, yeah, I mean, this is a great test for the Indiana Fever. Natasha Cloud has been a great addition to this team. You look at where they were 7 months ago when they beat the Lynx. It's that similar makeup of the team. Lainey Hamilton, she messed up her knee real bad, and she'll be out 5 to 6 months, I think it said. And she did that in that summer league. Well, I guess not summer league. Well, sort of winter summer. That off-season league, Lainey Hamilton gets hurt in that, and that's a huge loss for them. One of their best players, their best player. She won't be around, obviously, but Sandy Brondello, great head coach, just a deep team. I mean, incredibly deep, 7, 8 players deep that are all just really good. Rebecca Gardner, who had spent 2024 rehabbing that ruptured Achilles, she's going to be a force. Natasha Cloud pretty much fills in right there where Lainey Hamilton was to establish herself as one of their top players. So yeah. Defensively, that'll be where the Fever will try to challenge them the best. I think there are still some holes against them defensively, but other than that, I mean, this team is just so well rounded and difficult to beat. We'll see how the Fever stack up. Um, what else? Anything else I want to talk about? I mean, Kennedy Burke's really good. Jeez, this is such a really good team. They do a lot of that 5-out offense, so something to expect is this team. A lot of abilities to isolate, penetrate, kick out, hit threes. A great pace to what their offense looks like. Some really solid rotation players. So the Fever are going to be able to get rebounds. They might be able to help themselves on the offensive glass here because I feel like the Fever are really good at getting offensive boards against teams that they know they can rebound and having a rebounding advantage against. And when you're rebounding that well and getting that many second chance points is against an Atlanta Dream team that feature Griner and Jones, to go up against a Liberty team that maybe doesn't rebound as well, right? So that'll definitely be something. Keeping Natasha Cloud to a minimum. I mean, her ability just to create on the offensive end, she's averaging 20 points and 8.5 assists. Like, she is playing at that level. I mean, you'll enter the conversations of being top player in this league, one of the top players in this league. But yeah, there's not too much to really say except for the fact that this is going to be a tremendous challenge for the Fever, and something that they're going to have to do is try to limit them offensively, because this is such a high-powered offense that don't really make mistakes. So you can't let them have their way with you. And I do fear, because of the veteran presence that they all have with Stuart Jones and Ionescu. I feel like Fever have their hands full. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull will be crucial because of Phoebish and Sabali. Marine and Rebecca off the bench too. I mean, that's a scary team. That's like 9 to play. That's like 9 players deep. The Fever don't have that. Like I said, I mean, I feel like the Fever are missing another layer of player. Like, I feel like, Brianna Turner and Colson, I feel like you got to get them more involved and see what that can do for you. To go this 8-man or 8-woman rotation, I don't know. Like, you're gonna have a hard time competing against a deep team like the Lynx or the Liberty Aces. They'll be without Kayla Thornton. She's no longer there. So she's with Valkyries. So they're not as like, I think that they're missing a lot more talent than they gain, but still, this is a top team. Jonquel Jones was the Finals MVP last year, so you're gonna have your hands full there with whatever that might look like with DeWanna Bonner or Aaliyah Boston. Maybe Natasha Howard at points. She guarded Brittany Griner in points, so we'll see. But again, I feel like the keys to this game, they can be the similar kind of thing that they were from game 1 and game 2. Is you're gonna have to match the physicality of some of these veteran players on the Liberty. Ionescu is not somebody that's going to take things too lightly. Natasha Cloud, very good veteran player who's going to be physical as well. Brianna Stewart too. Jonquel Jones. I mean, you got to match that physicality and that force. So it's a big uphill battle right here for the Fever. I feel like with a lot of their adjustments that they're going to have to make, I would give the advantage to the Liberty, even though it's at home for the Fever. But I mean, they were 32-8 last year. They don't lose many games, so you're gonna have to find a way to beat them. Not lost yet this year either. Caitlin Clark's got to get more involved. She's got to get back to the way she should. I mean, she's got to be at her best to beat this team in the Liberty. So that'll be important. Kind of monitoring keys of the game, monitoring Caitlin Clark at the beginning. If she's not going well, this could be this could be a real tough game. She can't do what she did against Atlanta. This is one of her games where I felt like she really struggled to get any kind of involvement. I mean, when you take her completely out of game like that, that's going to be really tough to beat teams. You're going to need like that big game from Natasha Howard then. So, looking forward to that game. That'll be a lot of fun. I've got the Liberty beating the Fever in that game, probably by 8-10. I just feel like the Fever have a lot of growth needed, and you still expect them to make adjustments. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, keys to the game. You got to have that spark off the bench. I think they've got to combine for 15-20 for you to have a shot. So we'll see how that goes and how they match up, because I feel like the Liberty's bench is going to be a big key factor too for the Liberty themselves. Just some final thoughts. You know, what happens with DeWanna Bonner? Like, what is that? What do you do as Stephanie White? Do you continue starting her and letting her use her size to kind of match up against some of these other veteran bigs that are in the league? And then you kind of go to more of a bench unit the rest of the game. Like, is she kind of like a starter? And then you've got, you know, a combination of Boston, Howard, and Cunningham at the end of the games, even Hull. Like, you go like a little even smaller lineup with Lexi. So that'll be something to watch, something that I'm keyed into to try to see what that rotation. I mean, DeWanna Bonner at a minus 12 to 15 is just not going to cut it. That is a gaping hole that you have in the starting five against some really good talent across the league, and you'll see that with John Kell Jones. So that's a big question mark. And then CC, right? I mean, taking more steps, growing each game. That's always going to be something with Caitlin, but they've got to find a way to free her up with this team, with this unit, with this starting lineup. I feel like you've got to ingrain into them, if Caitlin's not getting to points of attack and she doesn't have the ball to bring up the floor and she's not initiating your offense, like, you've got to get her free, whether that's going to be big picks with Aaliyah Boston, Bonner, at the point of the inbounds where you kind of shed that person to the backcourt so that way she can bring the ball up where she's not pressured and hounded for 94 feet. But yeah, we'll see what Caitlin does in this game. It's going to be rise to the occasion, Caitlin. I mean, this is going to be a huge crowd this weekend. Excited crowd, because I'm assuming that a lot of people going to the Fever game are going to be heading off to the either Speedway or also to the Pacers games. So what a big weekend in Indy. I'm really excited to follow along from a distance. Again, I'm in Orlando, but always been an Indiana basketball fan, college level as well, but professional too. Thanks for tuning in. Though, if you've made it this far, we really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I've got a really exciting weekend planned ahead, just because you got the Pacers Friday night. You've got the Fever Saturday afternoon. Sunday's got the Speedway. The Indianapolis 500 at the Speedway. And then you got the Pacers Sunday night. Throw some Cubs in there as well. I'm a big Cubs fan. We got a big weekend ahead. Looking forward to it. And they play the Reds, I think. So what are your thoughts on the Fever season so far? They're 2-1, big win against Atlanta on the road. That's some growth there. That's some maturity showing up. And you've got really mature players making really big plays, mature plays in Natasha Howard and Kelsey Mitchell. So what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the DeWanna Bonner situation? What do they do from this point on? Like, what does that look like? Can you remove Sophie Cunningham from the bench unit and put her in the starting lineup? Does that hurt the bench unit down the road, or is it a benefit for both sides? Like, what does that look like? How impressed have you been with Lexi Hull's play? She's been the best plus-minus player in the WNBA this season. She's looked tremendous. leave those in the comments below. You can find us on all socials at the Pacers Fever Show. You can also find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. For the audio version, we do have the video version on YouTube. Like I just said, subscribe, like, comment, helps people find us, rate and like us, I guess, however you do that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That also helps Fever Nation find us, Pacer Nation find us. We will be back for the Fever after Saturday's game against the Liberty. We'll also be recording a podcast maybe tonight after, or not tonight, tomorrow after the tomorrow after the Pacers. They don't play tonight. Tomorrow night, we will record after that game, Pacers Knicks. So looking forward to that. Thanks for following along. We really appreciate it, and I'll be rooting on the Fever Pacers. Don't really have a rooting interest in the Indianapolis 500, but enjoy the weekend if you're out there in Indianapolis, and enjoy Indiana basketball. It's going to be a really exciting weekend. So I can't wait to talk to you guys again, and we'll see you next time.